We explain the history of the Israelites. During the rise of the early civilizations in the Neolithic Age, there were a series of groups that were classified as pastoral nomads, groups that still hunted and gathered despite agriculture, ran small farms, raised animals. They tended to live in mud dwellings, had systems of writings, and used bronze tools. Some of them overran existing civilizations. One example is the Indo-Europeans who would rise up around Mesopotamia in the form of the Hittites, the Persians, the Phoenicians, and the Assyrians. In the middle of all this lived another Semitic pastoral group known as the Israelites. Evidence shows us that the Israelites first appeared in the Mediterranean about 1200 to 1000 BC. According to the traditions, they were established under a pact between Abraham and God upon the pardon sacrifice of his son Isaac. Abraham settled in the Mesopotamian area known as Canaan. Isaac went on to have a son named Jacob, who then had 12 sons, and ended up in Egypt when one of his sons, Joseph, became a governor. The family gave birth to the 12 nations of Israel while in Egypt. According to tradition, the Israelite people became Egyptian slaves over time and were eventually liberated by a man named Moses, who had originally served the Pharaoh. In the desert, Moses was given the laws and the commandments that the Israelites were supposed to follow to show reverence to God. The laws created the Hebrew religion. The followers wandered the desert for 40 years before being brought to the promised homeland in Mesopotamia. Upon arriving, they began solidifying their hold in the area of what would become Israel by fighting wars against the outside tribes in the area. Eventually, they unified under King David. David's son Solomon established the capital and temple in Jerusalem. The temple became a symbolic center of Judaism. Eventually, the kingdom would be split in half, Israel in the north with 10 tribes, and Judah in the south with 2 tribes. In 772, the Assyrians overthrew the north, and then they assimilated away Hebrew identity, which gives us the 10 lost tribes. In 586, the Chaldeans overran both the north and the south, destroyed the Temple of Solomon, and took wealthy hostages to Babylonia, known as the Jewish Exile. Cyrus the Great and his Persians conquered the Babylonians in 536 and allowed the Judeans to return home to rebuild their temple and their society. The next big attack would be from Alexander the Great and his Greeks.